Hello everyone and welcome to another wonderful game from the 2015 World Cup that was played in Baku, Azerbaijan. It's Liren versus Ernesto Inarkiev. Yes, you guys probably remember him from that game we had against Magnus Carlsen. The double illegal movie was quite a sensation. If you haven't seen it, do check it out. It will be the first link in the description below. Definitely a game for the ages, that one. But this one, it features a sort of a calm opening, but then the game just explodes and the Ding's knight is just totally in the game for like the entire game. But you will have to see this one to believe it. So let's dive straight into it. The Ding opens with c4. He goes for the English opening. We have e6, knight to c3, and now after the Agincourt defense, d5. We have d4, knight to f6, transposing into the Queen's Gambit declined. C captures on d5, e captures, and now bishop to g5. So, like I said, nothing new here. c6, we have e3 and bishop to e7, preparing to castle. Bishop to d3 by Ding, and now knight b to d7. Ding goes knight g to e2. And here, while you could castle, might be a bit too soon. For example, castles g4 could be very, very annoying. So before that, black should move the knight, so the bishop has control over the g4 square. That's exactly what happens here, although first we have knight to h5 now, offering a trade of dark square bishops. Bishop captures on e7, queen captures, and now queen to d2. Ding says, okay, I might even be castling queenside. Since you're going to castle kingside, we might have castles of opposite sides. So knight to b6, again, not going for immediate castles because now g4 would be even stronger. So knight to b6 and now f3 by Ding. Now he definitely might be interested in castling queenside as f3 has been played, so he might have some ideas of g4, h4. But in the actual game, g6 was played, and interestingly, as of move 11, we have a completely new game. This position has never been reached before. Castles by Ding, he castles kingside, and castles by Ernesto, he also castles kingside. So it seems like it won't be a crazy game, but you would be very wrong. Ding plays rook a to e1, and okay, Ding now finished his development. Ernesto still needs to develop the light square bishop and both of the rooks. So bishop to e6, and now comes e4. So now Ding has very nice control of the center, and Ernesto has to figure out how to deal with this. So he starts by capturing. Ding captures back, and now rook a to d8, developing the queenside rook, and b3 now. A very nice idea, as not only do you don't have to worry about the a2 pawn hanging, also you control the knight here without allowing it any squares in the future. So here, bishop to g4. And here comes queen to e3. We have f6, weakens the king a little bit, but it gets more control here over the 5th rank. So a4, preparing a5 to chase away the knight from here, and now queen to b4, putting pressure on that b3 pawn. So Ding defends it. We have bishop to c2, and now how do you play this? Well, bishop captures on e2. White does control a bit more space, and the black king is a bit more open, so it makes sense to trade off some of the attackers. You have to capture with the knight, otherwise we're going to lose the d4 pawn. So Ding captures with the knight, and now knight to g7, shifting the knight over to e6, and then we're going to put more pressure on this d4 pawn. So here, rook to d1 by Ding, and now queen back to e7. And here, you can't really play something like knight to g3, even though you would want to, because f5 is very, very strong for black. The queen on e3 is undefended, so if f5 is played, you're just not going to be able to capture here. So first, we have queen to c3 by Ding, and now you pretty much have to play f5. That's the whole point of this, f5, and then the game continues. However, here after the move in the game, a6, this gives Ding too much time to set up any sort of an attack. So here we have knight to f4, now keeping an eye on that e6 square, but the biggest problem is now that f5 doesn't work. While the knight is on f4, we're just going to play a5, kick away the knight, knight to d7, and now play e captures on f5. That's the problem. And now you can see that the knight has access to e6, and also one of the rooks is is coming to e6, so that's just game. It doesn't matter what you capture with. Rook 8 to e1 chases away the queen. Knight e6 is coming. I mean, this diagonal will open up. This is game over. So after knight to f4, Inarkiev tries king to h8, but now queen to h3, an incredibly strong move, now threatening this monster fork that will, well, fork the entire kingdom here. So here we have queen to f7 guarding the g6 pawn, and now comes rook to d3, a beautiful rook lived by Ding. Also possible was something like a5. I will show this because it's quite nice. After knight to d7, now b4, the move you always know you have to play, and after well, you can see that black is very limited when it comes to moves, especially with Ding controlling that e6 square with the knight and with the queen. But after g5, we can even play something like e5, and it's I mean, such an ugly position to play for black. You would not survive this against the Ding. So instead, after queen to f7, rook to d3 was played. Ding has a completely different idea on how to continue this, and now we have knight to c8. Knight to c8 with the idea of remaneuvering the knight, but also you know that it's going to get attacked here after a5 is played. Now Ding plays b4 and g5 now, attacking the knight, and hence the title of the video. What do you do here? Well, Ding starts with bishop to b3. Of course, first we challenge the queen. Queen to e8, now putting pressure on the e4 pawn, and now Ding plays queen to h6. And what a beautiful dare to give a strong grandmaster like Ernesto Inarkiev. You can pretty much capture anything you want. You can capture the knight, you can capture the pawn here. You know that rook to h3 is coming, but still, if queen captures an e4, you guard the h7 pawn. So what's the idea behind queen queen to h6 by Ding? Well, it's a very, very deep positional idea, and well, we just absolutely have to show what happens if you capture the knight, because that's the most beautiful part of the game that never actually took place. So if g captures on f4, Ding's idea is rook to h3, now threaten checkmate, and now you have to defend somehow. You will defend with knight to h5. If you try queen captures on e4 here, then we're just going to play rook captures on f4. So there's nothing you can do here. You can't play queen e3 check, and of course queen e1 check just runs into rook to f1, and then you have the same problems. For example, queen to e1, we're going to block with rook to f1, and now after queen to e4, now you can, well, there's time for a lot of things, but even ideas like bishop to a2 to b1 will be enough to seal the game. But okay, after rook to h3, your only option would be knight to h5. You have to give back the piece, and now rook captures on h5, queen captures on e4. Again, we have to guard the h7 square, and now h3. Interestingly, here you do not have rook captures on f4, because now the e3 square is available to the black queen. The white rook is not on h3, so here this would actually be a draw, because now black would be able to use all of the dark squares to deliver checks to the white king. Queen c1 check, king e2, queen b2, sorry, b2 check, and so on. So here white would have to play h3, and now the position is just winning completely for white, because after a move like, let's say, queen captures on d4 with check, king to h1, now queen to d7, you gain control over this d7, over the h7 pawn, bishop c2. And now, how do you defend? We can play f5, but now comes rook captures on f4, and after queen to g7, finally defending against everything, we're going to trade here. Captures, captures, and now bishop captures on f5. And it seems like black survived because he's only down one pawn, but it doesn't matter. There is no surviving this position. For example, you're going to play, because the h7 pawn is hanging, you're going to play something like h6. Now rook g4 check, then this pawn falls as well, and so on. Bishop captures on c8, captures, captures, captures. Now let's say king e5, we're going to play a5, and well, it's simply too much now. The black king being in the middle of the board, not all that much for black to do, and the white having the two connected pass pawns on the queen side, this will be completely winning. And it's only now that Ding would actually be up a pawn, not in the previous moment where I mentioned it. So that's the idea behind the knight sacrifice that Ding saw when he played queen to h6. So the knight cannot be captured. Ernesto figured this out, and he decided to go for queen captures on e4. It's the only other move move that makes sense. We are now covering the h7 pawn, and then goes rook to h3 again, seemingly giving up the knight here. But now you can't capture. If you capture now, then rook captures. Now you don't have queen e3 check, the valuable resource that we discussed in the previous line. Now you just have to play queen e1 check, and after rook f1, queen to e4, we're going to play rook h4 check, and slowly but surely we are going to take away all the squares from the queen occupying this diagonal. Let's say queen d3, we're going to play bishop c4, and finally after queen c2, bishop a2. Again, you can't capture because of checkmate, and the next move, bishop to b1, is coming, and that's it. So after rook to h3, we have knight to e7, and this knight to e7 is crucial, because if you just play a silly move here, let's say you play a5, even though you are defending the h7 square, there's the threat of queen captures on h7, queen captures, and then knight to g6, a beautiful smothered mate here, as the bishop covers the g8 square. So you have to be very careful. So Ernesto figures this out, plays knight to e7, guards the g6 square. Now comes bishop to c2. We are offering the bishop, and there is nothing black can do against this beautiful idea. The queen cannot move, because if you move away from the diagonal, you're getting checkmated. So of course, queen captures bishop, and now of course you can see Ding's idea. But in case some of you don't, feel free to pause the video here and find the only winning move for Ding while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting that you have to take away the control of this diagonal from the black queen. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, of course, the move is knight to d3. And now there is no defending this, or rather there is, but you have to give up a lot of material. So here you could consider queen captures, rook captures, but that you do not have enough compensation for the queen. Two knights is, well, sometimes it can be compensation for the queen, but not in a position where the black king is wide open like this. So instead, here we have after this knight move, we have king to g8, now giving up the h7 pawn to try and escape with the king, but now Ding just captures. Queen captures on h7, king f7, now comes knight to e5 with check, again picking up the queen. So there was no saving the queen regardless of what Ernesto did. King to e6, now just queen captures on c2, f captures on e5, now rook to h6 with check. King d7, rook captures on f8, it makes sense to trade off a little bit of material, as it's generally a good principle. When you're up in material, you should trade down. Rook captures on f8, and now d captures on e5. We have knight to e6 trying to hold on a little bit, but now rook f6 offering a trade of rooks. So rook to e8, and here queen to h7 was played, and after this move was played on move 39, it was in this position that Ernesto Inarkiev resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Any move you make, it's a very simple win. Actually, queen f7, we go after the knight, and once you move the knight, let's say now we go rook d6 check, and we checkmated the black king. Now the rook falls, and that's pretty much it. Queen captures here, king b7, and now let's say queen captures on e7 with check king here, and rook to d8 will be checkmate. So yeah, after queen to h7, Inarkiev resigned, and what a spectacular victory by Ding Liren in this game of the 2015 FIDE World Cup in Baku, Azerbaijan. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Really a wild one, and really shows how you know, such a slight imprecision here that allowed this knight to f4 move in a critical position. You just have to play it. If you don't play it, then you allow all of this. All of this because of that one a6 move allowed the Ding to just fully mount the attack and completely overrun black's position. So yeah, once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Nagarjuna Ponugotti, USFDEFRI, Elias Fine, Leonel Alexandrino, and Harish Srinivasan for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check two of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day and your week.